Have you recently requested a raise at work and been denied? BenBen's here to help you. I understand how that feels. Awful, rejected, self-worth's down. Don't worry about it. Instead of getting shit-faced drunk tonight with your friends, here's what I want you to do. Skip that happy hour, go on Google and start looking for models in your area. Models. If you're a lesbian, a woman. If you're a straight guy, a woman. If you're a lesbian, woman, person that likes men, a male. That's weird, but it happens. If you're a gay guy, a gay guy. Ideally, someone better looking than you. Be honest with yourself. If you're a 6, make them an 8. If you're an 8, well, you're not an 8. Be honest with yourself. Then, instead of paying them to walk down the runway, it's not what you're doing. You're not running a fashion show. No. You're going to pay them to beg for you to take them back in the middle of the day at your work. Please, BenBen, please, I love you. You're the best. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. You work so hard. You say work's everything, but there must be a way for you to make time for me. Please. And you say something kind of to the fact of, can we talk about this later? Please, I'm in the middle of work. And they apologize profusely and leave. But what does this do? Raises your value in front of all your employees, all your constituents, and in front of your employer. They'll start to question whether they made the mistake of not giving you that raise in the first place. In the next few days, I guarantee what's going to happen. Your boss, to make it look like it's not connected, is going to take some time and then pull you into his office randomly and say, you know what, BenBen, I'm at fault. You deserve that raise. You absolutely deserve that raise. I'm so sorry. And guess what? You can go take that money, call that model back up, him, there, this, they, whatever their pronoun is, and say, hey, want to go out to dinner? Win-win. You're welcome. Tip from BenBen. Welcome to the BenBen Show. I'm your host. Yep. This episode of the BenBen Show is brought to you by Celine Dion's neck. Creepy. Also by Deconstructed Jackets. Buongiorno, Martello. Is the jacket coming? Does it look casual? It can't look nice. It has to look like I don't care. Okay. Ill-fitting. Enhances the slope of my shoulders. Fantastic. How much is it? 1,200 euro? Huh, cheaper than last time. All right, thanks. How's everyone doing today? Oh my goodness. Texas just filed lawsuits against other states to force the Supreme Court to take the cases on in the election fraud proposed by Trump. We'll get to that soon. But first, a man was arrested breaking into Tom Brady's Massachusetts mansion. Whew, oh my God, thank goodness. I'm so glad Giselle's okay. Deconstructed Jackets, going back to that. This is a very strange thing. I have a friend who doesn't like, so this is, peaked lapels, bespoke sills, same as Wall Street. Remember I told you before, custom bespoke. Actually, I have to get it taken in. You can see a little bit. Again, I've lost weight here and here. You can just tell. I'll have to do all this, but I don't want to do it just yet. But there's this strange effectual nature of getting something and finding casual clothes that mimic dress wear. A deconstructed jacket has no, it's just all there's no shoulder pads. I don't believe men should wear shoulder pads. It's not the 1980s. But there's no form to it. It's completely, it's like wearing like a sack. It just looks so sloppy. And I have a friend who thinks, oh, it's awesome, it looks cool. I'm like, there's nothing cool about it. It's effectual. Casual clothes are meant to be casual. You don't think about them. The idea of premeditated purchase of an item that's expensive by a designer, made to look casual, is by definition effectual, fake, feigning. It's feigning not elegance or a richness or some sort of not being ostentatious. The opposite of ostentatious. It's just stupid. It's like branding yourself. Like, I don't care, but I looked online and spent $1,200 on a jacket that I don't care about. Now, if it's off the cuff and you're just, extremely wealthy and you just find something, oh, that's cool, I'll just buy it. That's one thing. But if you have outfits like, oh, these cool sweatpants with this deconstructed jacket and these white shoes, that's a cool casual outfit. It's a little ridiculous. I don't like it. It's fake because you're pretending like you don't care when you literally spent hours trying to care. It's frustrating and fake and obnoxious. This is Brioni, this is Sills, as I mentioned, and this is a pocket square fiance gave me. Which is sort of funny because the other end of it, the opposite side, is like not pocket square. It's almost like you can tell it's the back, it's faded. Like, why would they make something like that? She didn't know the difference. I'm happy to wear it, but it's just funny. Why would someone do that? It's strange. It's like, it's just wrong. It's like you scrunch it up, you put it in here, and it's like, yeah, but then you have to make sure it's the right side. It's weird. I don't get why they did that. I want to start a segment called #Don't Apologize. In this segment of #Don't Apologize, we're going to talk about UNLV quarterback, University of Las Vegas, Max Gilliam, who was criticized by his school and had to apologize, or he apologized, I don't know if he had to, probably asked him to apologize, for eating sushi off a model's naked body at an event on a reality TV show. So let's just play this out. Quarterback, white male, that's important to distinguish because I think that makes a difference, is at a sushi bar where they have models, multiple models, laid out naked, showing sushi. If you've ever been to an art gallery event in New York or a sex club in Prague, no comment. This is common. No big deal. It's not a big problem. The problem is the ESPN article that cited this, which is owned by ABC, which is very liberal, very progressive, has a tilt that explains this as toxic masculinity and progress, or even proposes in the subtext this is some form of sexual assault. This is, that's disturbing because it's out of context. I remember when I tried out for MTV's Real World, I got to the final thing, and then the producers asked me these questions. Are you okay with cheating on your girlfriend? Of course I am. Are you care about being employed in the future? Of course not. Job? Ew. But I ended up not doing it because of the girlfriend when it was here. That's this way it is. But the whole thing is fake. It's produced. It's not real. They set this up to be provocative. Moreover, it's effectual art or functional art for the models to be having sushi on them and then allow themselves to be eaten off of. That's normal. They're hired for that. It's not abusive. The tilt of the article that it's somehow assault or male, like a white male doing something inappropriate against a woman, that is the tilt of the article. This is what's funny. If it was a male model naked and he ate a dragon roll off his nuts, no one would be saying anything. The school would be too afraid to be perceived as homophobic. And second, there would be no story because it would just be, progressive homosexual quarterback eats dragon roll off model's nuts. Yay, let's throw a parade for him. You see what I'm saying? Like, the conflation of this story is the same thing as men in general just being men that are awful. I don't like that. We have plenty of instances where we're assholes and do things that are wrong. People in the media, Harvey Weinstein's. We don't need to make up stories or to take the kind of juxtaposition of femininity and beauty with the crudeness of the idea that he did something inappropriate when he didn't. He did everything that you're supposed to do at that party. So I didn't like that. And quite frankly, this is the reason the aliens haven't shown themselves. They don't want us to be fighting like this. We gotta cut it out. I wanna see the fucking aliens. I want to see the aliens. Recently, Jacques Vallée on Close Encounters of the Third Kind scientist, proposed by Spielberg. I think, was it Richard Dreyfuss that played him in Close Encounters of the Third Kind? Can't recall. The UFO that I saw when I was a kid looked very much like the UFO in that movie, like the yellow lights. The floating lights that were over. A couple times this happened in real life of sightings of the light. It looks like a jack-o'-lantern in the sky. It's like a different form of UFO, not the one that looks like a egg that doesn't show anything. It's like lit up with weird lights. I guess there's multiple versions of them, but this is important. Right after Jacques Vallée's appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, mind you, all of Joe Rogan's podcasts have disappeared off YouTube. It sucks. And I made a point of this. I'll say this really. We'll get to this if we want, if I remember to do it. He would have a hard time transferring people over to Spotify. A, the compression algorithm, the show doesn't sound the same. There's no comment section on Spotify. And B, or C, the idea of paying for Spotify or the precept of avoiding ads or adding another layer of proxy to get to the actual content. In other words, men are constantly on YouTube. People use YouTube nonstop as like going to a news site just to find stuff, look at the events and watch a video, and it's a clip of something from CNN or Fox, wherever they watch. They get their information that way. Joe Rogan, the same thing. It's just easy, it's practical, it's part of their situation. To download the app for Spotify, to find a Joe Rogan cast, it's frustrating. It's not cataloged well, it's much harder. The searches are much more difficult, much more pop-up ads within the framework of the app itself, never mind the actual video. It's a problem there. And I said that we'd have a hard time getting people over. And now, naturally, he's taking those videos off of YouTube to encourage, and as a sign of good faith, he said he wouldn't do this, but as a sign of good faith to Spotify, I realized that the numbers aren't the same, even though I had 1.8 million in my last Jacques Vallée podcast, which makes sense. Aliens are on Earth and they're here and they're real. You should have at least 1.8 million, but it's nothing like he's had in random podcasts in the past, like Alex Jones with 4.8 million views and stuff like that, and upwards of that. I think he's had 10 million. Nothing like that. So they're, I think it's a user interface issue, and there's this lull that will have to be, I don't know. Something will have to happen. I wouldn't even be surprised if Joe Rogan doing stuff with Chappelle might be a play to get contracts for Chappelle, Joe Rogan, something with Spotify. The fact that he's in Austin, Texas right now, there might be something where Joe's gonna have to do some cross-branding with other people and then create contracts with Spotify through other people and move them away from Netflix. Like, well, how do you do this with leverage and getting content to move and then contracts to be afforded and then get the same viewership? You consolidate. You like Dave Chappelle, you like Joe Rogan, you like this person, we're gonna bring them all to Spotify and be exclusive, and there's a package deal, and then boom, and you can add that to the contract and renegotiate and get even more money. I guarantee you, if Dave Chappelle goes exclusively to Spotify, that's something. Going back to the little green men. So after the Jacques Vallée podcast, the UFOologist, he said to have he's studied the phenomenon for quite some time, and he has. Former Israeli space chief Haim Eshed says aliens are real, Trump knows about it, and there's a galactic federation that has been waiting for humans to reach a stage where they will understand space and spaceships, and and that they're no longer fighting each other. Because the aliens have seen our shit, and they don't like the smell. They don't like our weapons facilities. They don't like, there's all these, the weapons facility thing is really cool. Skipping down on my notes here. The Enola Gay that dropped the bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think it was a year apart that happened? Maybe not. Is it 47? Okay, any event. That plane is stationed at Roswell Air Base. It's the only atomic base at the time in the entire world, atomic bomb base. Only one. Isn't that ironic that the aliens went there? Also, if the aliens can either go through dimensions or something like that, like if let's just hear me out in my rant here. I know I'm being a little discursive. If they're from another dimension, if they're from a different point in space and time that's not even in the same sequence of time, they have to bend space to get here. But then they crash because of our artillery, or they just have an accident. Something tells me that the crash is intentional. In other words, it's almost like clues. Like the pyramids, the alien crash, maybe those monoliths that are being shown all over the world, like as if that's part of this like slowing experiment to reveal them. Staying inside, wearing COVID. Who knows if it's all part of this programmed Pavlovian, we need people to be like, do as they're told, and then we'll reveal the aliens. The aliens say this is really important. We're at like what Jeff Bezos would say, it's a critical new market period. When he was creating Amazon, it was absolutely critical, the online marketing. Maybe there's a critical mass in our technology that's so dangerous that we're about to come across. Or with social media and cell phones, maybe they think 5G is really bad, or 6G, and they're like, wait, before you do this, we have to come and tell you this is bad. The strange thing about some of the stuff this guy said, so there's an agreement between the US government and the aliens. We have contracts. Okay, fine. Donald Trump's aware of the aliens. on the verge of revealing information, was decided not to because of mass hysteria. You know, I know the aliens. Love the aliens. We're gonna tell you all about the aliens. But then I decided, you know what? Not the time. But I'm gonna give you the aliens. You know what, President? The only one's gonna give you the aliens. The only one, me, this guy. Have not done my Donald Trump in a long time, so apologize. Have not worked on it. Yeah. Oh, they'd be like, you're welcome. Who told you about the aliens? Me. Yeah, I don't know. 1947, Roswell was home to the atomic bomb squadron, world's only atomic bomb group, Enola Gay, Mexico, Hiroshima. Yes, very interesting. It's very interesting. All the nuclear bases that have found that like there's been a contact and the arms were disabled. Not that we enabled them to like shoot down a random UFO with a nuke, but that they knowingly showed us that they can disarm our electronics from afar. And no doubt, at that time, some of our older, like the 1970s facilities for nuclear warheads, those are closed circuitry. Those are standalone systems. You can't access those online. I still probably think today for hacking purposes, like some of our nuclear power plants or critical infrastructures, you can't actually do anything with them abroad. It's way too easily to be hacked. FireEye, or the goddamn, gosh darn, excuse me, all my Christian friends. Software, intelligence, tech, defense private group was hacked recently. A Red Hat, like some tools that they use for hacking and for defense critical systems was taken by some group, China, who knows, maybe. But like that's the point. So this spaceship, you somehow tapped into our electronical system that's closed looped from a spaceship. How? Like, if they wanted to firebomb us and kill us all and just take our planet, they would. I guess it's strange. Also, if we're so far beneath them in terms of, like viewing them, like we see ants and they think of us as ants. They don't think of us that way. Can't, because you do that once, you get bored of it, you move on. I realize people keep going to the zoo, but I don't know. I think it's more complicated than that. I think there's some sort of history they have with us and they want us to do well. The Zimbabwe story of the school children that witnessed UFOs coming down, they all received this telepathic message of technology is dangerous, you have to be careful. It was friendly. They came to visit the children. Australia at the same time. A plane, a UFO went down, little aliens got out, told the school children, hey, stop the technology shit, Almost like they want to tell young people that are not threatening, like you got to cut it out. If you say that to a military person on base, they might see that as a threat, like, oh, so you're telling us to stand down from our arms right at this moment? It could be perceived the wrong way. Though I think if you can telepathically relay a message, you could probably overcome any confusion with that message intonation because you're using your fucking minds. There must be some way to be completely crystal clear about what your intentions are. But there's still, they did that. Years later in the documentary, The Phenomenon, which Jacques Vallée was part of in the production, the children got back together and talked about it. All their stories are exactly the same. Unbelievable. Something's going on. I don't know what it is. I have no idea, but something's going on. Tim Pool's talking about how, he thinks it's more likely, military technology. I've always found that military technology seems to be behind the private sector. We have gene splicing going on. Scientists all around the world that's against, scientific conventions that we have. China's trying to make super soldiers. The technology that we have out, like the F-22 Raptor, is years behind what we currently are working on. But the precept of suspension of known physics at the macroscopic level, considering the Large Hadron Collider, what was that, built in CERN, Switzerland in 1997, maybe 2005, something like that, to just shoot particles around each other and slam into one another at a 7-mile radius. We found that we saw elements of spooky action at a distance where, like a proton that was split or something, we reacted on it, and one side, the other proton changed its spin or something, or electron on the other side, 7 miles away, exact same, like it knew we were acting on a completely separate element that had been part of that element. There was a connection there that spanned the entire distance. This is, relative stuff. This is Einstein theories of, superposition and kind of interconnection. It's interesting, but that technology, or the precept of that, is a theoretical concept, and using that to defy the standard model of physics at a level where you can put 25 G's on an airplane with a person inside of it and they don't die. I just don't buy that. Or if you have a drone, which have just been implemented in the last 10 years into the military full bore, 10, 15 years, that now we have drones that defy physics, but we don't have any other planes to defy physics. Again, that technology would imply that it's only, we figured that out in like 1995, 1990, based on what we know about our stealth bomber program and how often behind our technology is from the implementation at the market level of defense. It doesn't make sense. It also doesn't make sense. We constantly have scientists at universities in the private sector that are ahead of our military concepts. We have heard stories time and time again of private, young students being forced to take their research projects, and they just disappear because they become DoD, or they're a danger to national security. But they're nothing like this. I mean, we're talking about trained fighter pilots looking up into the sky, freaking out what they're seeing in live time. It seems impossible. We're seeing things move at, speeds that are like, the coolest story, I'll say this, the cool story, just speaking blah, 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 blah. The alien thing, I'm rambling. There's so much you could talk about. I'm talking to the camera without someone here. It'd be much better if I had someone here. The Commander Fravor, his story, the TikTok UFO, you've seen the little egg-shaped thing. So it's a 2004 video, 1997. He says that the TikTok, so on their flight path, they have an area that they're supposed to go to. That's like part of their plan. It's a predetermined position that they just decided before they got in their airplanes and flew off. Their checkpoint, their lookout point, I forget the term he uses. Fravor says that this thing went to his next point that he was supposed to go to before he did, knew exactly where he was to go before he did. That's the creepy thing. How the fuck did he do that? Or the alien, or it? That's where time and reality, the concept of multiverse universes, that there's a possible multiple versions of this world. They're 10 seconds ahead, 20 seconds ahead. People close to us that have died, we might have a different version of that. 10 seconds. Well, telepathy or some sort of. Why would the alien know to look in your head to where that point of you're supposed to be in your airplane is? It seems so arbitrary, given the contact with another human being. You're like, well, where is this airplane going to fly to in the next 10 seconds? And how does it know? This is the difference between reading your mind and knowing where you want to go. And you have an idea of where that is. And then the thing knows your longitude, latitude, coordinates. You're using English. You're thinking in your head in a certain thought pattern, in a certain language. And the alien can decipher that and go there ahead of you. It seems more probable that it knows you're going to go there because you already have in some other formation of time. How else did the aliens get to this planet in the first place without bending the speed of light, or suspending the speed of light for their own ends? Look at Wolfram physics, Wolfram's models of. It's just a different model of the way the world is. He thinks quantum mechanics is a superstructure of a substructure. That the reason the idea of qubits or superposition exists is because of a more complex system underneath that we don't understand. Supersymmetry, whatever. It's quantum mechanics is like almost like the macroscopic version of a microscopic elementation of the way the world works. I don't know. I don't know. All I can say is I want to see the aliens. We should stop fighting. I feel like, I don't know. When are we ready? When is that? Is it going to be ready in my lifetime? That sucks. It's awful. The idea that we're going to keep, partisan politics, China. What is this threat really? We've been doing the same shit forever. What are the aliens waiting for? If they're worried about our progression in terms of technology, is there some other technology that we have that we've pushed aside? What are the contracts? What are the rules? They want to reveal themselves and give us technology that they don't, that we're not ready for yet, like a gift if we do X. Why wouldn't everyone get together and just do that? And what is the technology? Is it about space travel? Airplanes? I don't understand. It also seems to be, this is interesting, if you are humans and you see ants, you don't care because they're so far beneath you, you can study them for a few years and you figure it out, right? It would seem to be that there's multiple probabilities of future outcomes that could happen that are indeterminable. Or that there's an outcome that does happen that's bad for humanity and the aliens are aware of it. So they want to intervene before that happens, like go back in time. The same idea of time distillation or time suspension to get to this planet is the same precept as to how they know that we need to stop what we're doing in terms of our technological advancement. Does that make sense? Which is cool, confusing. I think of it in a separate instance of time in terms of, does that mean there's a way for me to go back and make millions of dollars betting on football games? Is there, what exactly is that in terms of perception? Can the points be superimposed? In other words, can I visit my own self in the past in the same idea that I can view the past and then come back to it? Or, again, I'm talking pseudo-intellectual nonsense. It's just the very idea that anything that's that technologically advanced is so powerful and is still interested in us leads you to question what exactly is their connection to us from the past. Why do they care so much? Especially, it's interesting. It also makes me question the afterlife and what this universe actually is, and what is death, what is time. Einstein had the great quote about his friend that passed away. His time is an illusion. You're just in the other room. I look forward to seeing you soon when his friend passed away. That's beautiful. Again, this is one of those conversations where it's so difficult to ramble by yourself because there's so many things you can talk about. The Russian stories, same things, weapons being disabled. There's been stories of aliens hurting us, of powerful light beams and burns and weird experiments. I think about 1,000 of them according to Jacques Vallée. So there is that too. But it seems like that's not, I don't know. It's not intentional in terms of, as a threat. Maybe it's the idea of listen, pay attention, what we can do. We could do X. Maybe it was I don't know. But again, it's so anecdotal. It suggests that there's a bridge trying to be built in reality because you don't do this randomly in the woods with some person, like a police officer in Brazil or something like that. You do it with the world watching if you want them to succumb to your will. But they don't seem to want to do that. It seems like the idea is that they want us to figure things out on our own, and then when we're ready, they're gonna like bring something to us. What do they feel about capitalism? What do they feel about hunger? What do they feel about our tiers in terms of tax brackets? They like what exactly are they bringing to us as a body? It seems like we have to be unified. Like why is that Israel and the United States? Why are they to what is that? Do they have an agreement with Russia too? It seems this to be weird in that regard. Why are we the head honchos? What are the odds that they've? I don't know. It's weird. Why the U.S.? It's very strange. I don't quite understand that. But it's exciting. I think it's really interesting. I don't know. It's exciting. I don't know what to say about it. It's cool. Aliens, awesome, great. Floyd Mayweather set to fight Logan Paul February 20th exhibition. I think it's amazing how a celebrity that has some marginal level of talent, perceivedly, he's just a YouTube star, and then some agent decides we're going to unlock your potential. Did he know he's going to be a professional fighter 3 years before this, 5 years before? It's crazy. His agent's like, we want you to do a cameo in Real World Chicago. We also want you to do the voiceover of Hexus from Fern Gully in the remake. And then, do you want to fight Floyd Mayweather? And maybe we'll have you, do a 720 spin with Tony Hawk at the next BMX games or something. It's just like, what? X Games, BMX biking. It's just crazy. I don't understand how that works. Why is that a thing? The vaccine for COVID, a worldwide vaccine, Sputnik vaccine in Russia, different vaccines all over the world being proposed by private companies. A unified body could be created, like the United Nations after World War I. After World War I, yeah. Something to that effect could be formed because of this, which might unify the world. Suspension of all party politics. Von Clausewitz was saying politics is war, extension of war by other means. And for biological warfare purposes, if something like this were to happen, or a dissemination of a horrible virus, we suspend everything that's political, for the good of the world. You can see this being abused, but again, this is the first time ever since the world wars where we've unified like this. And then all the alien stuff seems to be referencing getting together. Maybe there's a correlation there, that this is a preparation for something. It's very weird how all these stories of you need to stop doing something, and when you stop, we'll give you the technology, that are very elusive and kind of not clear to the public. If they care about us that much and want to reward us, you think they'd be more specific and defining what exactly do we need to be ready for? What, the cattle, the sheep, you and I, the people not in power, just the everyday person? What do we have to do to be ready? We're individuals. We're not uniform. We don't, some of us are ready already. Some of us are ready to go. Show us the aliens. Show us, how to travel back in time. Show us how to suspend the speed of light or suspend the standard model of physics for our own ends. It's weird. It's what are we waiting? What is this presumption that's so vague? We're just not ready. It's dangerous in the sense of control and governing bodies, the world wanting something being created to control us, for the good of the world. The proposition is that we all have to think alike in order for the aliens to give us X, Y, and Z. But what is it? It seems like if they do exist and they are real, and it seems like there is some phenomena out there, that there's information that's been proposed that's kind of noise and very vague. There's probably far more specific things involved in terms of talks with leaders all around the world, and they can't discuss that, so they say stuff weird, strange things. They probably warned us. So why wouldn't they just tell us, hey, don't do this. You need to stop doing this. And maybe if they're from the future, they can't tell us everything because they don't want it to, change too much. But they know that something, if they planted us like seeds and they intertwined their DNA with ours way back when, and they're like, look, we're your ancestors sort of, and we don't want you to fuck up. Don't do this. Trust us. We've done it. It's not a good idea. But it seems like they have some precept of what we're thinking, where we're going, and some view into the future. And that's really cool. I just hope that there's not a suspension of the individual, what makes humans human, which is our diversity, for the sake of some sort of global plan. We have to succumb to X. Theoretically, if there's a biological event, threat that's worldwide, far worse than COVID, if Ebola was far worse, and we had to suspend every sense of rights and privacy and for the sake of the greater good. And then the aliens come in and tell us X, Y, and Z, and then everything changes. And the only people in power are the totalitarian Politburo of a new world government for the sake of this threat that the aliens finally reveal, which is that, and our government to us via proxy, that there's some asteroid coming and we have to prepare and we have to start working together, blah, 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 blah. Something like that. It's possible. Very possible. And then Elon Musk gets a government contract to start hurting the aliens. How do I make my rockets go faster? Wow, that's cool. Okay. It's the aliens teach him how to not spend $30 million in every divorce, and they give him some clues. It's don't marry her. That girl's just like Amber Heard. Don't do it. I don't know. That'd be nice. I don't know. We should pivot because this is just rambling. This is a difficult podcast to kind of get through because it's rambling. It's just I need someone to bounce off ideas. Otherwise, it's just pseudo-intellectual nonsense. I did have something on gene splicing. We should probably talk about that, get the craziness out of the way, that China's trying to create super soldiers. Why not? Josiah Zahner came up with, was it Ovid is his company, to do CRISPR DNA alterations at home, send you kits to be able to do it. Someone's going to get hurt doing that, but he was charged at one point. He has a molecular biology degree from X and Y university. He's a very intelligent young man. He was accused of possibly, acting, giving medical advice, not as a doctor, but that's going to go by the wayside. But it's self-evident that there's a lot of things the government has done in the past. We're using Blackwater guards. We use third-party outsourced, for the sake of Freedom of Information Acts. We use private entities. We've even created private entities or GSEs to do certain things so it doesn't look like the government is being too imposing. We create third-party agencies and stuff like that. The government can easily create a private corporation that is funded surreptitiously by the government to just do all these projects to parallel the research that we don't think is legal or should be done. Creating super soldiers, gene splicing, IQ variant increases. And one of the things that's an issue of this is the idea of changing DNA structures. And if they get into the general population pool, it could create abnormal strains of DNA that could self-destruct. Kind of like that Jurassic Park idea where, was it leucine or some protein, BCAA, that they made the dinosaurs dependent upon, and if they don't get it, they die. So that if they escape the island, they can't receive it. So something like that. But if some idea in the DNA structure, this element of the genome will increase your IQ by X. But the consequence of that could be, you get cancer at 50, or you start developing brain tumors sooner. Quid pro quo, right? I don't know. But this article says that some neuroscientists are splicing human genes in China to create super soldiers. We've done tests at the embryo level with splicing human genes into monkey brains, increasing the cerebral cortex, enhancing elements of it, grows, it looks bigger, and then we abort the babies because of again, fears of what that implies. Planet of the Apes. So, what we know, everyone's trying to survive right now, right? Everyone's working. People work 9-to-5 jobs and watch Netflix, and that's their life. But there's so much more that I don't know. It's very unclear and interesting and profoundly more interesting than the mundanity of everyday life of just trying to just be and be the best we can be in our own professions and our own hierarchies. And I don't know. COVID has kind of thrown a wrench in that, and what's the point of everything? What does the future look like? Aliens, what is the perception like from a Christian point of view or something like that? What is that? Throws a wrench in everything. I'm sure every single person in the Republican Party is like, fuck, we gotta worry about these aliens. It's gonna throw into the evangelical vote. It's definitely gonna go left now. We got universal minimum wage coming because of AI, and then we have aliens. How does the Bible explain that? I mean, there's definitely some problems there. Yeah, man, I don't know. This world's strange. It's very frustrating. It's also the way things are coming out now with information, whether that's the WHO guidelines that might have been imposed or suggested by China for the sake of protecting them, or snippets about aliens. They seem like the same precept of like vague dissemination of information, just like someone would do during the Cold War, like fake facts, lead people down a rabbit hole. Could be. I think it is interesting that all the alien videos are not clear. We have F-15 fighter jets flying in the sky and books you can buy for your coffee table. They're about as crystal clear as, I don't know, water. And then every single video of an alien ship, regardless of how far away it is, they're all vague, blurry, confusing, almost like either you can protect that if it's a propaganda mechanism by saying, well, that's the aliens doing that. We can never get a read on it. A lot of the videos they'd release are heat signature videos. You know what I'm saying? So like you don't see the actual video, you just see like infrared, frustrating. But then Harry Reid is someone, who says like, oh, like 90% of the information we have hasn't been made to the public, video evidence. So it could be the pixelation is on purpose and dissemination of altered video to make things look more confusing and confounding. But again, why would you do that? It controls the information flow. It controls the suspension of disbelief, or purports the suspension of disbelief as a stepping stone ladder to revealing something, either to a selfish end that is a part of a grander conspiracy, or the fact that aliens do exist. The other thing that aliens do exist, and you use that to your own advantage, which in a macroeconomic or a macro sense is stupid and self-serving and short-sighted, like for money, for power, I don't know, or you like manipulate their message to imply X, Y, and Z to gain leverage on this planet. I guess like the idea being that your perception or yourself, your wants are so superficially driven here that the very framework of what you view as reality or life is far less fulfilling, including another party that completely undermines the very essence of your self-worth, like the earth being all there is. No, we're now we have 4 different species of aliens that all of us know about in this intergalactic federation, and we are. Oil prices are now far less important. It's just, it's almost like if you're a 55-year-old politician, you're like, I don't want to deal with this. It's too much. Can't we just keep it simple? Can't we just foreign direct investment undermine, third world countries, separation of the poor from the rich further and further, currency manipulations, can we arbitrage pricing? Can we just play the normal bit of selfish capitalistic endeavors and focus on getting a beach house before we die? 50 Cent, get rich or die trying. That's what we live here. That's our thing. All right. And then we have to come to some fruition when we become rich. We have to learn to not work so hard and enjoy life, which is also a chore in of itself. It's confusing and hard. that's kind of our world. Balance of him. Then you throw in aliens, viruses, wearing masks everywhere. The idea that you live in a world where you want to have kids and children, and then you start witnessing playground where children have to play separately in squares because of some arbitrary virus that, based on statistics, doesn't affect them, but could affect their teachers. Ergo, the fact that the children are now the victims of collateral damage, right? Because they can be carriers, but they're not going to die. So then they don't develop good social skills. They learn to keep their thoughts to themselves. And then your 16-year-old daughter starts cutting herself and developing an eating disorder, even though you're not divorced, you're not beating your wife, and you have a loving home, but she just doesn't have the social skills, and the deep insecure thoughts of a young teenage girl are not protected by the social dynamics of friendship because her friend is 6 feet away in a box and they can never get close enough to really feel comfortable about revealing what they're concerned about. Sorry, is that crazy? I don't know. I went too far. I don't know. That's weird. But let's talk about this state of Texas. The Pennsylvania lawsuit was thrown out. The Supreme Court said no. But there's a special little game you can play where if a state, this happens about once a year, a state sues another state, it supersedes the state level. It can, but it goes right to the Supreme Court. So Texas has sued Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, maybe, I don't think Arizona or Nevada, but have sued them over the election results. And it's, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia. 4 swing states that Biden won in the presidential election, allegedly. Electoral college has not been certified, but you get what I'm saying. Or has been certified, but the formal vote on the 14th hasn't happened December 14th. These lawsuits exploit a constitutional element that allows states to directly sue one another and be heard before the Supreme Court without starting the lower courts. Gives the justices a time to weigh in, but there is an element of creating a general assembly in the states itself to review these lawsuits, I think, that the Supreme Court could ask to be assembled prior to them hearing the case. And the lawsuit hasn't been filed. It's more of a paper or a intent to file. So that's important. So weird things have happened in some of the filings of Trump. I didn't realize till the other day. I've read the filings. There's gaps, there's spelling errors, there's all this stuff that you get fired from a law firm for having. I almost make it seem like they did this on purpose to push forward their lawsuit to the Supreme Court and get it dismissed. One legal scholar said it's not ideal to not win in the lower courts when you're trying to get to the Supreme Court, because you go there either way. Because if you win, the other side will appeal, right? The Democratic legislator or whatever will say, "Hey, fuck you. We don't care that you won. We're going to appeal, try to get to the Supreme Court and get our decision our way." It's weird how it's comfortable. Like your brain works better when you're just like fidgeting sometimes. But the idea, I think, is that they don't have time for that. There's time constraints. They have to push this forward. So spelling errors in the filings which look amateur might be on purpose, because the crux of it is the Constitution already exists under this time frame and dynamic. If there is fraud, if there are questions of the vote, this should have been addressed earlier. You can't say the Supreme Court, you should have brought something forth sooner. The process is very difficult given the election's on the 3rd and January's right around the corner for swearing in Biden. And you have till December December 14th, I think, is the electors' vote. You can't say, oh, well, you should have done something sooner. It's very complicated. And I think this is, at the very least, Trump suggesting he'll run in 2024. There's precedent here to say Biden could very well be sworn in and things remain, but that we find out almost like a reverse Russian gate that's substantive, that the Democrats knowingly cheated, which completely undermines this whole, the whole voting system, the Constitution. But if we find out he cheated and it was abundantly clear that while he's president, he should not even be in office, it's crazy. It's insane. Or what if the Democrats realize this is about to happen, that he's going to be found out? So then he steps down because of an illness, and then Kamala steps in as president, and then she's like, well, I wasn't aware of anything like that. Or Biden's mental handicap is used to show that he can't remember if he's ever taken to indicted or asked to speak before a Senate Judiciary Committee about like the elements of Dominion voting or something, if there's a fraud there, he's like, I can't, I'm incapacitated. It's a brilliant move. If it's all premeditated by someone, bring in a president that's clearly losing his marbles because you cheated, and he cannot be deposed because he's losing it. It's brilliant. And then Kamal could be like, I didn't know anything about this. They just chose me. Which makes sense because they already chose Biden. So the plan to cheat was already in place. So the question would be, did she know about it? And maybe for the sake of playing chess, plausible deniability, we're not going to tell you. Pretty good. It takes a lie detector test. They set this all up on purpose. He's has Alzheimer's, she has plausible deniability. Then you go to the lower levels. And there's these random people that are like indeterminable information. Why did you move this table here and take out these voting? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's kind of unsubstantiated garble, You have all these facts that coincide with like voting spikes at 2 a.m. when they ask the Republican watchers to leave. And then you can't really substantiate, that's great, but it's not conclusive beyond reasonable doubt. All right, well, this happened in 4 swing states at exactly the same time, or we found the Dominion voting machines. We found one of the thumb drives we said people surreptitiously put into the machines at different times. This is on video. And then we found one. We saw that the software alters the machine to give 37 votes to Biden and then subtract 37 from Trump. That's the swing. Every 100 votes. Every 1,000 votes, let's say. So 3% difference in summation and aggregate, right? That becomes a big number. Maybe that's it. You're talking about some states where it's like a 10,000 vote difference, 20,000 vote difference. That's huge. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm not really focused on it because it's just there's no thing to look at. It's all like MySpace evidence, like very like fake stuff. You know what I mean? It's like it's not. It's being trashed by every network. You have it on OAN and Newsmax and Fox, and that's about it. Even Fox is starting to like separate themselves. I don't know. I don't know. Judge Alito moved up the response time to Tuesday, but I think, is that the Pennsylvania case that was thrown out? Giuliani had coronavirus. This is his letter. The safe harbor deadline is a statutory timeline that generally denotes the last day for states to certify election results. However, it is unprecedented for an election to last well beyond December 8th. Justice Ginsburg recognized in Bush v. Gore that the date of the ultimate significance is January 6th, when Congress counts and certifies the votes of the Electoral College. Interesting. The only fixed day in the U.S. Constitution is the inauguration of the president on January 20th at noon. Maybe. Not in terms of consequence, though, in the process of the election. I don't know. This is weird. I guess they're trying to give themselves a lot of time. Despite the media trying desperately to proclaim that the fight is over, we will continue to champion election integrity until every last vote is counted fairly and accurately. So this is Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, Trump campaign, Jenna Ellis, senior campaign of legal advisor, attorney for the president. I think it's interesting that Giuliani is doing the appellate briefs, or the appellate lawsuits, because he's not an appellate lawyer. It's weird. It's like hiring like a civil attorney for like agriculture lawsuits to defend you in a murder case. It's a little weird. There's a political motive that's being pushed, but it seems to be. It seems unnecessarily. Like, it almost seems like it would be better for this not to be public with Giuliani's grandstanding. There's just no court of public opinion that this is happening. You can say whatever you want. It's such a small portion of the media that's covering this. Substance to me is everything, but maybe not. Maybe it's, there are a lot of people that are upset about these possible violations of state legislator formats for Republican poll watchers and the counting of votes and counting votes without proper addresses anyway, using voting packets and then like re-voting, like putting them back into the machine over and over again to recount them. There's evidence of that. It's crazy, It's just on video. It's very anecdotal and confusing, and it's tough. The funny thing is, and I'll just be frank. Adults, to have an adult commit a crime of treason or voter fraud, that could be, you see the FBI arrest people all the time. There was a 2018 case, I think in Michigan, a woman just discharged by the FBI the other day. It happens. There's no way at the state level. There's no way you would risk such a thing unless you've been told absolutely unequivocally. You're a middle class, everyday person. You're running the center for voting, like Maricopa County or something like that. There's no way that you would risk going to prison and having not done anything wrong your entire life, even if you're a diehard liberal, unless you get something out of it. You're A, guaranteed you won't get caught, and B, there's an incentive of some sort. And the only incentive I know that counts for adults is money. So I can't fathom how someone could possibly commit a crime. It's the same precept to Trump. How could a billionaire take office and then take direction from Russia when he gets to sleep with supermodels, play golf whenever he wants, and make way more money? He has to divest from himself and all. Why the headache? Just for hubris of being president? It's not worth it, because if you get caught, you go to jail forever. So why would someone knowingly commit fraud just to get Biden in, even if they hate Trump? The risks of going to jail forever are insane. Absolutely insane. It's unequivocal that the everyday person would not take such risks because they're not hiring felons at these voting centers. So the idea that someone that would normally never do anything wrong in their life would commit fraud and help Biden win through various suspensions of state legislator law implies they're getting something out of it, and they have some assurance they will not get caught or be prosecuted. It's very disconcerting, because who gives you that get out of jail ticket? Someone in the Democratic Party? Someone at the defense level? Is it part of something grander? The deep state, which has every incentive to violate privacy laws and the rights of everyday citizens, because information and the gathering information and constitutional protections of privacy in general are anathema to one another. They're contradictory. So this whole thing is very interesting. I know there's stupid people in the world, and you can convince stupid people to do silly things. But what you can't do is be a governing body like the Democratic National Committee and pay off people and expect that if a third party like the FBI gets involved, that you're not going to get caught. You get what I'm saying? Like, if Seth Rich is going to get shot and killed, and that's been agreed to by Hillary Clinton, then other people at higher levels of government say we're not going to prosecute that case or look into it, without other than the superficial element of it. So it's not, no way is that an assassination, unless it's been certified and agreed to by parties that would prosecute that they're not going to do anything about it. Remember the tarmac, Bill Clinton meeting with so-and-so, who was it? The attorney general at the time, to not prosecute Hillary on, like, these. You got the FBI people meeting, Peter Strzok, let's do everything in our power to stop Trump, and it's accepted to talk like that as a representative of our government with a president. That's technically illegal. You're not supposed to do that. Like, you're not supposed to speak against it. It's very disconcerting. It's very disconcerting. Open borders, anti-nationalism, corporate world, undermining the American worker, cheap labor. They passed that law during this whole COVID crisis. They can look at your browsing history, even if you're not accused of a crime. Jesus, it's public information. Interesting. Private, but the people I talk to on the phone, is that public information? But the internet is, what I Google, it's strange. Okay, we've talked, this has been good. I don't know, what else do you want to talk about? Aliens, talked about neuroscientist monkey brains, gene splicing, Floyd Mayweather fighting Logan Paul of all things, talked about deconstructed jackets. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. Strange. Too much is going on. I hope that everyone gets a stimulus check that needs one. I hope that Congress comes to their senses on that and getting people some sort of relief. I think it's incredible. You can't shut down businesses and expect people to simply, deal with it. Like, Nancy Pelosi can't possibly say, I want billions of dollars for all the state funding programs, and the reason why no one has a stimulus check and no one has unemployment benefits is because of McConnell. No, you're just asking for more money that's not direct payments. That's kind of behind the eight ball. It's surreptitious. You're hiding that from your criticism. Just take the $600 a week or $300, whatever it is, take the direct $600 payments proposed by Trump, and then drop all the extra money that goes to bailing out the bureaucrats at your Democratic states. And just accept that, and let's move forward and make sure everyone has a great Christmas, because that's most important. This year's been, we're going to have a tough 2021, at least the first quarter. So let's be realistic. Let's do people. Let's do good by American citizens, by our people. Let's help them out. Suspend party politics for a little bit. What do I want for Christmas? 1987 Aston Martin, is it Vantage? The V8? Yeah, I want to have like snow tires on it, and I want to move to like Moscow or something for a little bit. Yeah, or Lithuania. So I want to like live somewhere like that. I want to read a lot of like Dostoevsky. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be fun. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.